Hey,
And I
Christy.
have, hi,
What are
Kelly.
you doing?
This
Are
is
you a
my
moose?
This is my moose ears for the last podcast.
If you do moose ears and I do moose ears, then are they meese ears or moose ears?
Well, per my Canadian friend Kelly, they are in fact moose ears.
All right. See, we're educational podcast. Here we go. I like that you brought up last podcast because ladies and gentlemen, let's take a step back a week. Christy has two words that are her kryptonite. It is talking about poop and using the term balls out. Those things that make you shiver. I thought, you know what we should do? We need to do a words matter episode. Words matter. This is what we're going to talk about today. I had an interesting work thing years ago. We had this girl. We'll just say communication was not her forte. And she was describing this thing. And I was like, sorry, quickly, I don't understand. Can you repeat it? Can you tell me again? And so she starts repeating it exactly the same way. And I was like, no, sorry. Can you repeat it again, but use entirely different words this time? Because it was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And so I'm going to take credit for coining the phrase at work, words matter. Because one person would say something with the belief of what those words meant, and someone else would interpret them differently. And then you'd be talking about, one person's talking about giraffes and the other person's talking about coin purses because you interpret it differently. So words matter. That's today's episode.
They do. They matter. And actually, I was taught, in the world of marketing, these things about this research and all of these things about words and their meanings, because I work in words. That's all I have. I have my words and that's it.
Just not poop.
Well,
they used out.
Actually, at my first job in advertising, there was a woman who had a ongoing Excel sheet of words that were not acceptable to use around her.
Really? Okay. So
they would be like, okay, well, back to my research thing, and then I know you, whatever.
Yeah, but you give me your research.
I was always told that women say on average 20,000 words a day, and men only say 7,000. That is a myth. It is not true. Actually, research says that both men and women roughly speak the same speaking of finding my words.
Sometimes they do a good job.
Yeah, I'm doing great with my words here. Both men and women roughly speak about 16,000 words a day.
I do remember reading an article about that, but I was thinking it was actually about children, like toddlers and language, and that girl toddlers used way more words than boy toddlers, which, having raised both, I would say, yeah, that was my experience.
My daughter was like talking in full sentences at 8 months.
Yeah.
My son didn't really start talking until about 18.
Yeah.
But, at 8 months, he was running around, not just walking, but running. And, my daughter being her, the week after her first birthday, she was like, I think it's time for me to walk. And she didn't stumble. She didn't do all that stuff. She basically just started walking. She knew how the whole time.
She's like, fine, I'll do it.
This is so stupid. Why would people do this? Fine, I'll buy in.
Okay, so let's go back. You mentioned this spreadsheet of words. No go in front of her, which I love. I would actually probably print it and post it. What are the words for you that give you, to coin the phrase our Gen Zers use, the ick? What are your ick words? Besides poop and balls out, what are your ick words?
I'm going to blush saying this, the word pussy.
Put it down and I can't even write it down. I just put the P word.
I should have just said the P word. But I
hate it.
Yeah, I hate it. I can say F 700 times a day, but that word I just cringe at. There you go. There's my.
What? Go ahead. Yeah. Tell me why that word for you. I think I know for me what it is, but why that word for you? No.
It's just such a vulgar word to me. And it's used so negatively. Men call other men that when they're being quote unquote female. And I'm laughing because if you look at a vagina or balls, they'll be like, you got some cojones on you. But men's balls are the most sensitive part of their body, and you kick them in the balls
Exactly.
to make them crumble.
You don't even
And
have to kick, just a stiff breeze in the wrong direction. I'm like, why would I want a set of those? A vagina takes a shit kicking, literally. You have babies. This goes back to our first podcast. We talked about vaginas. That thing is magical.
it is magical. And so, yeah, the P word really just,
Yeah, same. Oh, blah.
it's very hard for me.
I think for me, I think it's also because it gets used, like you said, in such a negative way. But so often in like porn and things like that, where I'm just like,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Yeah,
So don't use the word.
I don't watch porn, but that's for another episode. Kelly, we'll talk about.
Listen,
Hold on,
never
I'm
mind.
just writing that down. Now my mom, hey, listen, Mary has now turned it off. Okay, she's turned this whole thing off.
Mary Jean. I know it's not Jean. Mary Catherine Gallagher, turn off this post if you don't want to hear anything more. Hey, I also have to say, a shout out to all the people who are following us and our subscribers this week. Accomplished getting on Apple Podcasts, so now we're Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, which is like a dream come true, and that people are listening and giving us comments and saying, I love what you're doing. God, I don't know about you, Christy, but that makes me feel so good. This is legit the best day of the week for me. And so that somebody is listening and has us in their ear and is taking a minute to comment and let us know. God, thank you so much, everybody. This is just us on a whim. I love it if it's making someone else's day.
I'm with you. It also makes my day. For some reason, just to come on here and talk. I mean, listen, let's be clear. My favorite thing in the whole wide world is to talk to people that I love. And so, yeah, it's great. And yeah, thank you for everyone for your support. I was a bit nervous doing this, as Kelly will tell you, but it's been really great. And I think, just really tapping into a part of me that, and you too, Kelly, that we so often have to not.
We don't get to lean into this part in our professional lives as hard as we want to. And so my commitment to myself is no matter what I do in my corporate life, I need to set aside the time for this because this nourishes the part of me that is just who I am. So that's for me. I'm just like, I love this podcast for that reason. And I have fun editing and doing all those. And I'm sure we will be infinitely better months from now than we are now, but it's just so fun. So thank you for those things. Those are our kind words to listeners. Thank you.
That was so nice. A little love letter.
A
love letter.
So
good
we
words,
have the exact
Kelly.
same words. That's a good word. The other one for me is moist. It's just like, who came up with that one? Like it even sounds moist. I don't know why. It's a good descriptor, I guess, because it's gross.
But what word do you use instead of that?
No, I use it and I make this face. It's like moist. The only other word, and it's not quite the same, is dank. Do you know that word, dank?
No, I don't. Dank? That sounds worse.
Okay, have you ever gone down into a basement that's just kind of like wet and it smells dank?
Yeah.
So it's a very good description, although it sounds naughty, it's not. So that's the other word for me.
But moist in regards to like cake and things like that, like I would never substitute it with dank.
No, yes, you're right. When I use the word moist in a way to describe something gross, where it's like, it's really moist down there, it's really damp, it's really dank. But a moist cake, yes, all for that. Or, what's meant to be moist should be moist.
I think that that's something on social media we need to ask the question. When you're describing a cake, a cupcake, or, anything that is a good and moist, like, is there another word to use?
You can't really say hydrated when you describe your skin.
That is one hydrated cupcake, Kelly.
That is a hydrated cupcake. Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. Okay, let's flip the script a little bit. What about words? So words matter. Can you think of some time when you've said something and intended one thing and it landed completely the other way and you were like, fuckity fuck, not what I meant?
You're describing every single day of my life.
Self-correction.
And also when you're saying it and you're realizing it's not landing by the person's like facial expressions and you can't stop. And it just becomes like, you're like trying and then you try to switch it. And then at the end, it's just a big mess. And you're like, Right. So let me think about what I was just trying to say and come back to you in a way that obviously is better. I do it all day long, every day.
In a way, it's endearing. You're like, I can't walk it back. I can see myself tripping and I should stop digging, but we're here. For me, I remember vividly this time when our boys were like 12 or 13. We used to say to them, be better. And what we meant was, in context, the context we would use it in, we would be somewhere at a restaurant, you'd see kids being shitty or whatever, and we would say, guys, just be better. And what we meant was, be better than the average bear, set the bar, be a good human. That's what we meant. And we phrased it, be better. So I remember one night when they were about 12, they're in our room and they were crying. And we're like, what's wrong? What's bothering you guys? And they said, well, you don't think we're good enough. And I'm like, what are you talking about? My boys. My boys are amazing humans. And we're like, what are you talking about? We've never said that. And they're like, yeah, you always do. You always tell us to be better because we're not good enough. And we were like, fuck, nope, not what we meant. That
Kelly,
we had to step back from and like, sorry, guys, we didn't get that right.
like, so what we meant was be better than the average bear.
Right. We meant hold the door when somebody is coming through. Introduce yourself, make eye contact, shake hands, all those things. And they took it as you're not good enough. And I was like, oh, shit. So sometimes maybe what we should say is, hey, my intention is bleh, so that we don't get in a situation either one of us just went. So that was one of those times where I was like, that wasn't our intention. Damn it. Sometimes you're not the best parent, but what are you going to do?
I mean, again, it goes back to they've got to have something to talk to their therapist about, right?
But carry on only, no checked luggage.
No checking the luggage with the kids, guys. Keep it to carry-on size.
Carry-on size baggage only.
You could have 2 carry-ons, just not anything checked.
Well, I think it depends on the airline now. I saw that the big news is that Southwest is getting rid of the 2 check bags. And they're like, well, fuck, now what are we? Why would we fly you? So interesting.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
These tiny little loyalty things that get entrenched in society. And then when a company decides, oh, we're not going to do that anymore, it's not a big deal. And then it becomes a giant, giant deal. Then you're like, uh-oh.
It's part of their value proposition. So to me, it is a giant deal. I mean, I have status on American and Southwest, I think. But so I can check bags, I can whatever, and they don't charge me. But if you're the average bear and you travel once a year, I don't even know what normal people average on that don't fly for work average. I should look that up before I just said that. But again, whatever. So it's a huge part of their value proposition, right? I mean, it's not even, that's part of the pricing equation.
Well, exactly. All things being equal, apples to apples, then what differentiates you from someone else? If I don't have to pay $60 to check a bag in 2 directions, I'm going with you. If I do, damn it.
Well, what I will say is I thoroughly enjoy the flight attendants on Southwest. They are funny. And they have this irreverent nature to them, and I love it because let's be real, like getting on a plane, you're putting your life on someone else's hands in the flippin' air. It's not like a boat. I can swim, I can't fly, and I think it really helps, just at least it helps me calm the anxiety. So I love that piece of the brand where it's just so human and not this, ladies and gentlemen, underneath your seat, you will find your flotation device should we land.
Yeah.
It's
human
refreshing.
a little bit. Yeah, I
it's
agree with you. And memorable. I like that because, hey, we're all trapped. We were going on this trip. We were going on a trip. There were 6 of us. So the plane we were on, we were flying WestJet. And so it was a 3x3. And so one couple was across the aisle and then the other 2 couples were on the side. And it was an early morning flight. We were going to Cancun, unless you ask my husband, who never knows where the fuck we're going. He thought we were going to Jamaica. Different story. Anyways, we're going to Cancun. And the flight attendant comes by and she's got drinks and it's early morning. And I'm like, one of the guys ordered a Caesar. And I said, I would love a mimosa. And she's like, I can make a mimosa. And so she proceeded to make all the mimosas for us. Like we cleared her cart out of champagne, but she would just start coming by and give us like the eyeball, like the, yeah. And then one time she's like, would you like another? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, yeah, you do. And so for the rest of the flight, she was like, yeah, you do. And this is 7 years later. And these three couples of us, we still will use that because it was so memorable. Do you want another mimosa? Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. Those are good words. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
Especially in that context. I actually have a funny flight story. So I'm actually afraid to fly. I've gotten way better over the years.
Okay.
Way better. Like, I mean, I used to white knuckle it the whole time.
Okay.
Now I've gotten to and here's the deal. I started off college in engineering. I understand how flight works. I understand that the wings can bend to like almost a 90-degree angle before anything's going south, right? It's just, I think it goes back to my fear of falling.
Do you think, or just a suggestion, is it a control thing? My husband has the same problem. I'm like, I'm pretty sure, Christy, if you were flying the plane, you would not have the same rate. Exactly. It's a control thing. It's not because you're afraid to fall. Go on with your story.
But this story, so in my first job in advertising, right, I worked on Harris casinos, which was, let me just tell you, something that was originally started by the mob. It's a great, well, I mean, gambling wasn't, Vegas,
you're going to learn words matter. Don't fuck that up.
Don't. Words do matter. No rats in here. Yeah. Anywho, so it's flying.
Is that a movie reference? Just checking. Go on.
It might be. I probably got it from somewhere. Most of what I say I've gotten from somewhere else. So I just need to disclaim everything I say. I probably heard it somewhere else. We were reopening the North Kansas City location. And this is when I was living in Dallas. And so I was a AE. So my boss's boss, the head honcho, the big dude, right? Him and I go to Kansas City and we get on, and I'm like doing my rituals, right? I mean, I say 3 Hail Marys. Like I do have rituals that I still do to this day. Anywho, he bumps me to first class, which I always thought was really nice, really kind of him. And I kind of get through the first flight, I'm being quiet, which is like an indicator that something is wrong. If I'm not talking, like, people be afraid. Either I'm really pissed off, I'm scared out of my mind, or I don't even know.
She knows something you don't know.
I know something you don't know, and it's not good. Anyway, so on the flight, he's like, he always called me Diesel. Hey, Diesel, like, what's up with you? And I'm like, I just don't like flying very much. And he's like, you gotta be kidding me. And so, of course, he orders a beer for me and him, 1 each, not to share. And on the way home, we're driving to the airport, and it's Kansas City. So there were storms everywhere. There's like black clouds all over. Black clouds, super scary.
I don't know all the movies, but I know there was this one movie in Kansas when the clouds were really bad and it ended poorly for the people in the show. Go on.
It sure did. Anyways, again, this is like 20 some years ago. I'm just starting to, like, my anxiety is like up here. Like, I'm in almost full freak out. We get to the airport. Again, it's surrounded by black clouds. We get evacuated to the bottom of the airport for tornadoes, right? I mean, this is like literally, I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to freaking die today.
I'm a good flyer, and that would make me anxious.
Well, my boss's boss looks at me and he's like, Diesel, you okay? I'm like, yeah, hard no. So they let us go back upstairs, and he, of course, doing what anyone would do 20 some years ago, takes me to the bar, and he's like, yeah, our flight's going to be delayed anyways. So I have 3 Captain and Cokes, Diet Coke.
Oh, well, there you go. That's good. It's about balance.
Just changes things, right? And in a pretty quick time, and all of a sudden we hear the final boarding call for Dallas. He's like, Diesel, come on. And he starts running, and I'm running behind him in heels though, right? And I didn't check a bag, so I've got my bag too. And we hustle, they put us on this plane, and he's up front, I'm towards the back, and I'm looking around, and this woman in front of us is talking about how great it'll be to get back to Chicago. And I tap on her. I was like, "Excuse me, ma'am. This flight's going to Dallas, right?" And she's like, "No, it's going to Chicago." I look at the guy next to me. He's like, "We're heading to Chicago," and I'm like,
Shit.
Such and such, get off the plane. We're going to Chicago." So him and I run off
Right.
the plane.
Oh,
How did we get on this plane? Because
on that plane.
it was even post 9/11, right? So like you think that it would have triggered. Anyways, run like crazy, get the last two people on the flight to Dallas. And I gotta tell you, the takeoff was weird.
Oh.
You know when you go to take off and you get the whoosh?
Yeah.
There was never any whoosh. And my boss's boss turned around and looked at me and had this look on his face.
Oh, you felt it too?
Well, and he traveled nonstop, right?
Mm.
Nonstop. And when we landed in Dallas, he's like, "Oh, Diesel, man, I kind of thought we were goners there for a second." I was like, "We were supposed to get on that other plane because this one's going to crash because there was no whoosh." And I was like, "Hey, man, I'm so glad that you did not say that to me because I literally would have had to sit on your lap for the rest of the friggin' crying like a child, and it'd be really awkward to go back into the office and work with you." Anyways, that was my first business trip.
Okay, yeah. Well, I blame him that you got on the wrong plane and whatever airline let you in the gate. I had a trip with one of my besties for work one day. And do you remember when the unfortunate MAX 8 issues had happened with the Boeing MAX 8?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I have a brother who is a pilot and he's based in Hong Kong and he flies Boeing. So she and I were flying back, I think Montreal to Toronto.
Wait, hold on. You just said your brother and then you said she and I.
So my brother-in-law is a pilot. He's going to come into play. My friend and I are on the flight.
Okay.
So we get on this flight. It's a short little hour flight back to Toronto, and we get in the chair or in the seats. It's a brand new plane, and I'm like, "Cool, so pretty, Air Canada, well done." And then I sit and I see in the pocket they have the little plane picture for people who are nervous flying, and they read where all the oxygen comes from and all. I never read that, but what I can see is the title and the type of plane. That's always on there, and it's a MAX 8. And it is literally at the time that every other airline had grounded all their MAX 8s. So I sent a text to my brother-in-law and I'm like, "Hey, hypothetically speaking, if you were sitting on a MAX 8 right now, getting ready to fly home, what would you do?" And he texts back, "Can you get off?"
Oh, God.
Now, my brother-in-law he likes some shenanigans. So I was kind of like, maybe he's just jacking me up. So I'm like, "Are you joking?" And he replies back, "Ish. Talk about words matter." I was like, "Bro." And I'm texting my friend who's like 5 miles up. And I'm like, "This is what he said." And so he's like, "Well, as long as the captain knows this procedure and this. And I'm like, "Well, I'm not fucking asking anybody that." So I text, it's like 6 a.m. I text my kids and my husband, "Hey guys, good morning. We'll be home soon. I just want you to know I love you all. Like, have a great day at school." And I'm thinking, I hope not to fucking die on this flight. So while I'm a good flyer, that one time I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know. Yeah. Yikes. Anyways, I'm here. So it all played out. But my brother-in-law was not doing me any favors. "Can you get off?" I did ask him one other time. You can come into the Toronto Island Airport. So you're coming in on a very short runway. You're usually in an RJ. And the wind can be quite breezy because you're over a lake. And it's a huge lake. It's Lake Ontario. It's massive. It might as well be an ocean. It's so big. So anyways, you're flying over and you can have one of those like kind of sidewindery kind of landings, which don't feel great. And there's winter, so they're always choppy. And so you start to get signal, a couple of minutes before you land. And so it's real choppy. And I don't know why I text my brother-in-law, actually, because I text him and I'm like, "Hey, how far above the ground can you crash on water and survive?"
Oh my God, Kelly. Kelly.
He's like 0 feet. He's like, "Don't survive." Motherfucker. Again, the moral of the story is do not text your brother-in-law for life advice about flying.
Well, I'm taking my 2 kids to Spain tomorrow.
It'll be fine.
I now
You
have
have to be the big.
anxiety. Like I literally, my palms are all sweaty. And
You
I'm
have to
like,
be you have to set an example for these children about how great it is to be flying. And what airline are you flying?
American and then Iberian.
Oh, I don't think I've ever been on that airline.
Either.
Well, worth a shot. See how that
Worth a
food.
shot. Well, it's funny because, like we can be very different people when our children are around, right? So
Totally.
it, my daughter's a little nervous because one of her friends keeps giving her crap about like your plane's going to crash over the ocean and she's not, my daughter loves to fly. She's just a little bit like, wait, this is an ocean.
Yeah, I was
This
just going
is
to
a
ask, have
big
they haven't flown overseas before, right?
I mean, they're 10 and 6. No, they haven't
Yeah.
flown overseas.
Yeah, I'm bougie. I'm not that bougie. I don't take them with me.
No, I mean, also too, no.
Yeah. So this would be their longest flight.
It will be
I
their
would
definite
imagine.
longest flight. I am prepared. I have melatonin gummies,
Okay.
which, by the way, the 1 milligram melatonin gummies, if you don't occasionally use those for your kids to put them to sleep, you're missing out. Just
I was
saying.
just a 1 milligram. I thought there was a 0 after it, but is that too much? I give that to my dog. Is that bad?
Kelly, we're going to have to talk about that later. I have no idea. I don't know anything about animals. I just have one that I've managed to keep alive. So
Listen,
it's okay.
if the 1 milligram works, just stay low. Like, don't go up too high too fast. So that's good. So they're going to have a sleep. Is it an overnight flight or daytime?
It
okay.
is.
Okay. So higher likelihood they'll sleep. Listen,
so.
I am manifesting only good things for this trip for you. And then what are you doing in Spain? That's awesome, by the way.
I've never been. So I'm super excited. My daughter, her soccer club every year, they have a international tour where kids are able to sign up from all the teams and go over and play sports or play soccer. So they get to play in like those big ridiculous stadiums and they play local teams.
Have fun.
Yeah, it'll be so fun. I mean, we have a bunch of other stuff we're doing as well.
Yeah. And so there's a bunch of families, obviously, like that your kids know and you know that are going.
No, actually we don't, because they're not from our team. They're from our club, which is, the club ranges for, I think you have to be 10, at least 10 to participate. Although I did talk to the director and I'm like, hey, when they're practicing, I had a little 6-year-old. He actually also plays for this soccer club. Can we involve him in some way?
Oh, that's so nice.
And they, of course, were like, absolutely, because his like dream life is for his big sister just to want to play with him.
Well, that's going to be so great. Do you remember when we were growing up and we got to do all those awesome things with our school sports?
I wasn't even allowed to play sports, Kelly, a different podcast. Or, hey, how about the vacations? When I was their age, listen, we had a blue station wagon. Okay. And there were 9 of us because when I was my daughter's age was when my little brother was born. So when I was 10, my final brother was born and that completed the 9 of us. Blue station wagon. I don't know who even had a seatbelt.
I was going to say some were tucked in the back window, some were on the floor. That's a lot of bodies. Oh my God. Not a lot of vacations.
Yeah, we drove everywhere, right?
Yeah.
My parents actually, when we were very small, and this is probably before the last 2 were born, what they would do is they'd get a hotel room with 2 beds. Instead of putting us, hold on, I'm going to get my horizontal in my... Anywho, instead of putting it mixed up,
flat to the ground,
and vertical. So instead of putting us on the bed, how you normally do, right?
Yeah.
Top to bottom, they flipped us because we were so little that they did side to side. So all of the girls,
everybody's
we all
done
fit
that.
in the bed together.
Yeah, just nobody moved. Yeah, for sure. Although the people on the end got fucked for blankets, but otherwise you were good.
There's that. So
anyways, no big family vacations in your like Brady Bunch of a giant group of people.
Not till we were older. And after my dad started his company, and then we would go to Jamaica as like his favorite place ever. So, and then there was always a friend tagging along, and then my brother was married at the time. One time we had to bring a priest with us though, because my family was in such turmoil.
I was like, what kind of vacation were you planning? The teenage bring a priest.
Kids were like, we're not going.
Oh, it was an intervention. This is not a holiday. This is an intervention.
Well, I don't know. God. I don't know what it was, but no, we would go to Jamaica, and that was, my father's version of vacation was the beach. That's it. No snow, no sightseeing. Like, if you're on vacation, you go to
sit
a
on the beach
and you
sit
stare
there
at the ocean. But also, they have this really great place there called Boscobel Beach. And they had, you could get rid of your kids. First of all, it was an all-inclusive. They had nannies, youth clubs, whatever. So I think it was like, they were just like,
it's making sense.
Have children go.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You didn't have to pay for the ice cream shop or any of that. So could you imagine?
Your dad's brilliant.
Well, he's brilliant.
He saved $40,000 by not having to pay for food for all of his children. Yeah, that just makes good sense.
It just makes good sense.
Believe it or not, we never took vacation. Like, I don't remember any vacations, period. And the very first time that I flew, saved for when we moved provinces when I was 2 years old, the very first time we flew was at a work trip. My third day at work, it was a conference that we were going to in Philadelphia. I had never even gone to the airport. So I had to ask my new boss, who thankfully I had known for years because I was his customer previous to that. And I'm like, okay, great. I need you to meet me at the airport. He's like, yeah, perfect. I'll meet you at the gate. No.
Oh, Kelly.
I need you to meet me outside the doors of the Toronto Pearson Airport, and then you are going to take me through the entire process of boarding a plane. Because we also had to go through Border Patrol because we were flying internationally, technically. And now I have flown, courtesy of my many years of work, on so many trips, on so many continents, to so many cities internationally by myself. No issues, no concerns, just like, yeah, let's go. But that very first trip, like literally my first trip ever, was so crazy.
Well, that's really cute, Kelly.
Yeah.
And kind
of sad. Also,
it's not sad. It's not sad. It's actually, I think my experience with flying at such a young age, it was actually, I used to love to fly. And then on the way back from Jamaica, we had one of those roller coaster flights, the ones where they're dropping and you're sick. And all
where
of
your
that.
Stomach is.
And you're like, oh my gosh, we're going to die. And I think that was the first time that I ever thought, I'm going to die. Like, truly thought it. And I think that's where my fear of flying comes from. But we're going to have to move on because honestly, I'm so anxious. I'm so anxious right now.
It's going to be great. Okay, let's go back to words. Here's a question for you.
Sure.
Growing up, I think every generation has their lingo, right? The words that they use growing up. What was you're slightly younger than me. Do you remember your go-to lingo growing up? What it was?
Yeah, I still use it.
Oh, shit.
Dude. I still say dude all the time.
Okay.
All the time I still say dude. Goodness, what was another one? Dude is the biggest one for me. That has stayed. That has definitely stuck and stayed. How about you? What was yours?
I think growing up, we were in Valley Girl kind of time. So it's like, oh my God. And then my husband would talk about, he used, a lot in a sentence. So he'd be like, hey, we were going to the airport, and da-da-da. And his father was very proper British gentleman. And every time Andrew would say, Richard would say, no, I don't. And then Andrew would be like, what are you talking about? Well, you said, I know, I don't know. And Andrew's like, and so it's just one of those parent things. So now, obviously, the kids have lots of their own lingo, and we won't even go into the stupid fucking skibbity and all that riz and shit that they talk about. But what I have noticed that they do, and this has been true for years, is this pop culture, I think, informs this. The word that they grab onto and overuse the shit out of. Right now, that word, and I heard myself say it, is literally.
Well, I use that word all the time.
It is
and always have.
It is so overused at this point, though, that I'm like, can we skip to whatever the next word is? Because the word that preceded literally was clearly. Yeah, so everyone will be like, clearly this is a problem. And now this is literally everything. And I'm like, it's not literally, actually.
It's literally not literally. You're speaking figuratively.
Yes.
I know this is getting into some grammar that you probably weren't taught,
And I know and you know what it is? They're trying to add oomph to a sentence. So they're like, you know what I find adds the best oomph to a sentence? A well-placed fuck.
True. It does put an exclamation point.
If you want to add some oomph, kiddos, throw a fuck in there. It'll do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to give that advice to my children just yet because, they're 6 and 10. But my son did the other day say, brah, to me. I was like, I ain't your brah. I'm your mom.
This is how you know No, it's a maturity sign. You go from mommy to mama to mom to ma to bruh. You can get a sweatshirt. You can literally get a sweatshirt that says that. Do it.
I was like, first of all, I am literally your mother. See what I just did there? Anywho, it's funny, the words thing, because I'm a big believer in words. I think, people say words don't matter and it's about actions. That is actually completely untrue. So when you're thinking about your words and what you're saying to people, especially in a corporate setting, there's a couple of, because hopefully you're not being physical with anyone in a corporate setting.
I mean, you should be careful if you are.
Emotional wounds from words last longer than physical wounds. And words shape reality. Also, repetition reinforces the damage. Right? So if you have a boss that says something negative to you all of the time, it's actually going to damage you.
I think it becomes a narrative that you think is true as well. And I think that's also so valuable to consider when you're talking to yourself. Because if your negative self-talk is all you're saying, you will perpetuate that. And I'll use a simple example in cars, right? If you look for a red car, you're going to see all the red cars.
Oh, yeah.
So you will build whatever narrative you put in your head. And so if it's negative talk in your head, that is going to manifest in some way. So I am trying this year for sure to put a lot of positivity into my brain. Like when we were building this out and getting closer, and your concern was, what if it doesn't do well? And I'm like, what if it's fucking amazing? So
wait, nice to make me negative, Nelly, which I normally not.
You're not negative. You were just getting concerned. You're like, well, what if it doesn't work? Like, it was more from we do all this work and it doesn't work out. And I'm like, what if it's fucking amazing?
But also too, I think, again, it's just fun to do. This is the first two were like, I was like sweating bullets. Like, I just want to like be anywhere. But here, what's really great, at least for me, is I'm becoming comfortable with my voice.
There you go.
In a way that's really authentic to me and who I am. And, what you were mentioning earlier about your self-talk, that's good old cognitive behavioral therapy. Let me save some people some money for going to the therapist, although I do recommend everyone should have a good therapist. But if you have a negative thought that's been put in your head by your parents or somebody else, how you change that is you consistently, Kelly, give me a negative thought that you have about yourself.
That we'd go to weight. Oh my God, I'm too big.
Okay. Let's take that. Oh my God, I'm too big.
Yeah.
So whenever that hits your head, let it go and then change that statement.
Oh my God, I am solidly built.
No, but oh my God, I have a beautiful body.
Yeah.
Right? So research and studies have shown you have to let the thought in that you have, but if you consistently change it, that thought will start to change because our brains are that powerful. There you go. Little psychology for you. Are we already at 40 minutes?
We are already, that doesn't matter. We could go on forever.
Maybe we'll split up the episode.
We always say that. We never split up the episode.
Well, I don't edit. You edit. So
I know I edit. Hey, also, listeners, fun fact, up until, I don't know, however many days ago, Christy never listened to the podcast because she didn't like to listen to her voice. And what happened when you did?
I was pleasantly surprised. Well, because here's the deal. I picked myself apart. Like everybody else, you get grace all day long, right? You didn't mean it. They're really a good person. Like that's how I approach the world in general. Like speaking of airline travel, I will never understand people who get bent out of shape in airports. It's not going to help anything. By the way,
all gonna get trapped in this tin
we're all
can.
like, there's no amount of bitching or being rude to people that can't change what's happening is going to help.
Yeah.
And
Simmer down.
I have literally gone up to people that are yelling at, like, you know, the agents and stuff, and been like, hey, she can't change this. You need to stop.
Yeah. Be better.
Be better. Like, just don't be
In the literal sense.
just don't be an asshole.
Don't be a
be an asshole.
dickhead.
I don't
Yeah.
even know what we're talking about. So yes, I finally listened to some of the podcasts.
Yeah.
With that, I haven't watched it yet. I watched the little reels that Kelly puts out there, but someday I will watch it. But no, it was good. I think I'm going to start listening more. I think it's very healthy to listen to your own voice.
Yeah.
That's not in your head.
I agree with you. It's also interesting to listen to because you know your thought process in the moment. You may not remember it when you watch it a week later, but you kind of know how your mind works. And then when you watch it vocalized, you're like, oh, interesting. I know what I meant. I know what I intended it to come out that way. So it's a little bit like when you do public speaking, if you do it. I know there's a lot of people who are like, no, thank you. Never would I ever. I personally love it. And then you practice and you practice and you practice and you practice. So when you do it, then you're like, I nailed that one. So it's fun to watch the podcast. Although we script none of this. And this was probably one of the first times we actually had a plan. Although you surprised me with last week's plan. I did go back in our text string, by the way. You never told me we were doing International Women's Day, but I love you for it because it's a great episode.
Kelly,
you find it, you screenshot it, and I will clip it in here the moment that she told me.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it for sure because I 100% did. Yeah, no. Anyways, words matter.
Words
right?
do matter.
Although today's episode could also be known as airline travel.
I was going to say, fear of flying.
Today's episode is Fear of Flying, brought to you by Christy's irrational issues with airplanes and control.
I will tell you, my husband's definitely on the same side as you are, but the time that he hates flying the most is if he and I are together. Because he worries if the plane went down that the children would lose all of their parents. And I'm like, buddy, that's morose. And also now I'm worried about it.
Great, thanks.
Let's just sit on. Worried. He's not worried when I travel by myself. He's like, it'll be fine because I'll still be here.
Well, no wonder you drank mimosas for the entire flight to Cancun.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did. I'm going to start using that. Yeah,
you gotta use it. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you do.
My friend's husband, Terry Grant, bless you, Terry. He's got a whole bunch of fun little isms I can teach you. You can take into your grown-up life. Some may get you arrested, but most are just largely fun.
I love that. I could always use more words. I mean, clearly I don't have enough. But also I'm going to say this. I say way more than 16,000 words a day.
Definitely. I'm sure there's an app or some sort of word tracker and it'll be like, tell me when I hit 16,000 and it's like 9:30 in the morning. Well, I guess I should shut her down. I will tell you, I've learned I do say a lot because after having my wisdom teeth out, my jaw is actually kind of sore because I had a little bone graft and I guess that hurts as it heals. But I notice the days that I talk a lot, my jaw is like really tired and sore. And I'm like, ooh, I do talk a lot. My jaw is very sore. Anyways, fun fact.
Wait, I'm sorry your jaw is sore. I didn't mean to throw that to the side. But do the words count in the morning if you have to repeat them? Like,
well,
hey,
they
kids,
shouldn't.
Get ready for school.
Mom said 16,000 words, but she only said two things.
And they were the same two things for an hour. Mom, why do you look so frustrated? Why are you getting angry? I'm like, because I've literally, again, said the same thing all morning.
Mom, why is your face so red? Rage. The rage is coming.
The rage is coming.
You are going to have a fantastic trip.
Listen, Kelly.
And then it's going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy. And you're going to get to Europe and be like, why don't I live in Europe? And don't forget, they still have better butter. Don't forget about the butter.
Hey, listen,
not
I love
Spain.
Europe. I've been all over in Europe, never Spain. So I'm excited. I'm kind of nervous though that my 6-year-old who's going through a really picky stage isn't going to eat while we're there.
remember the food being anything too shockingly different. It would be different if you were in Poland, but
right now he eats nuggets and
he can eat bread.
vegetables
He can
and
eat bread.
fruit.
He'll be good.
Okay.
And give him a Rioja. That'll sort him out.
I don't even know what that
it's
is.
red wine. It's Spanish red wine.
Oh, yeah.
Rioja.
Hey, Kelly.
You're like, you know what it, don't lie.
Hard no. How about a hard no? I actually didn't.
You don't want to take parenting advice or dog advice from me is what I've learned on this episode. I got some gems.
I love your kids, though. So I think that maybe you're an okay parent.
Thank you.
Okay.
I mean, in fairness, it wasn't just me. I have literally a village, and I meant literally because I literally meant literally because I have exes and my husband has exes. And so but you know what? To have managed yours and mine and ours with exes, and we can talk about that another time, and still raise good humans, I'm like, good on all of us. We did a good job.
I think it's great. Also, I have a village, and it's not from, new spouses and old, it's just in general. I think one of the things that has made life so hard on women these days is that we don't use the village mentality anymore. You're supposed to do everything on your own. And no.
You are a better person if you were raised with a couple of weird aunts where you're like, oh, I spent a lot of time with Auntie Dale, and I love my Auntie Dale. She's so fabulous, but a little bit crazy. But I wouldn't be who I was if it weren't for Dale. When Dale drinks, Dale has an alter ego named Elizabeth, and I love her for it. I love my Aunt Dale and Elizabeth. And with that,
my alter ego's name is Olivia, but we retired her several years ago.
Well, we can get a new alter ego. We can raise a new alter ego from the ashes. Well, enjoy your kid holiday, and have the best time in Spain. And then let me know when you touch down and you made it okay, because I am still a mom. I am still going to worry.
Kelly, I'm just going to let you worry after all your fuckery on this.
All right, everybody. Enjoy, like subscribe,
follow,
all the
share,
things. Whatever, just enjoy it.
And you know what? Also, if you have any topics that you would like us to cover, we'll do it a little bit and then we'll go totally down a tangent. But we'll try to come back to it.
We'll try to come back. We'll mention it. Throw it in a comment. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, somewhere. We'll get to it. We love you.
Okay. Have a great time. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.